Hello friends, my name is Jasmine, I'm an illustrator, and welcome to my channel. A few weekends ago I went camping with Jonathan and my in-laws, and I'd like to invite you along on this trip in which we explore some very rare and amazing sights in the desert and see some of the art I made inspired by them. Go ahead and grab some tea or coffee, and here we go. Arriving at an old horse corral to camp right in the middle between Death Valley and the Sierras in California, the next morning we got ready to go on the Jeep and explore for a day, a wilderness area that was rumored to have not only a fighter plane crash site, but actual petroglyphs. The road was rocky, and let me tell you, trying to film inside a Jeep is quite a challenge, so do bear with me. For a moment, our Jeep actually broke down, and while my father-in-law and his friend attempted to fix it, I took the moment to do some drawing, which proved to be one of the few times I actually got to make any art. Why is it that I continue to think that I'm going to make a lot of art during these kinds of trips? I never really seem to make the time to actually sit down and draw, but there you go. At least I got this little moment to do so. From what I was told, it was practically a miracle that they managed to repair the Jeep. It wasn't long before we continued to make our way to the first stop. Here we hiked through a wash, our eyes glued onto the mountains in search of a crash site. Shortly after, we spotted not just one crash site, but 3. Parts of the jets dispersed over the mountains upon colliding. And to tell you a little bit about this event, on June 26, 1972, 2 F-4J Phantom jets collided in the air while on a training run here. All 4 crew members managed to eject, but one officer did not survive, unfortunately. His name was Jack Winstead. And it seems like past visitors have used some of these crash parts as target practice, while others have happily turned them into their home. After a brief lunch break, we headed out to the rumored petroglyphs. I say rumored because no one really knows exactly where they are located, and for those who do know, they responsibly have kept it secret for the sake of their preservation. So luckily our friend Chuck is an avid explorer and had a hunch on the whereabouts of one of these beautifully rare sites. Petroglyphs are a form of prehistoric art rock. And that's right, prehistoric, which means these designs were created by either picking or carving onto the rock side almost 10,000 years ago by the Coso people, a Paleo-Indian culture that thrived and traded in the Mojave Desert and Coso Mountains, who are considered to fall into the current northern Paiute indigenous nation. The region was more mild in climate back then, more like a broad savanna with lake shores brimming with life and vegetation. It seems the region began to become the hot and dry place we know it now as probably around 8,000 years ago. on the road the next morning. As we made our way up to the top of one of these mountains, we drove through the Cerro Gordo ghost town, which was really cool. There are still many structures when this little mining town was booming, but just a few weeks ago after our visit, its 1871 hotel and ice house burned down. Still on our way up to the summit, our Jeep began to slide on the very rocky road, so our friend Chuck had to pull us out. This is a pretty exciting moment in the trip, I'm not gonna lie. There definitely was a minute there that we thought we were gonna have to turn back, but luckily my father-in-law and Chuck are experienced Jeepers, so this was mostly just an exciting turn of events, you guys. At the top of this mountain lived the Tender family in the first decade of the 20th century. They owned a mining operation up here, and the wooden house is actually open for visitors. The last stop in this day's trip was to see another little cluster of petroglyphs, a clear example that people gathered near bodies of water, as this spot overlooks an ancient lake basin. The many symbols found in these petroglyphs are the sun, the concentric circle, believed to perhaps symbolize the center of the cosmos, and even cute bighorn sheep. The next and last day we went out more towards Death Valley and to drive through Darwin. We actually spotted wild donkey. Aren't they adorable? It's always kind of shocking to see blatant wildlife out here when you know just how inhospitable deserts are. And yet here are some, living their best life, am I right? Hasta luego, burritos! And here we are, driving through Darwin. Why are we not stopping here? Well, for one, there are no real shops. It's mostly a residential town. In the middle of the desert, yes. And secondly, they don't want visitors. They have all moved out here to not deal with people, so for that very fact, we are just going to drive through and enjoy its old mining town spirit. If you'd like to know more about the quirky history of Darwin, I've linked below in the description a documentary. You should definitely check it out. Believe it or not, we technically are still on Darwin's main street, aptly called Main Street. We stopped at an old mine and everyone was buzzing with excitement at checking out all of the minerals and mining paraphernalia that have lay abandoned for more than 100 years. There aren't many oases, you know what I mean, here in the desert, but we took our lunch break at a secret spot known for having actual koi fish. This spot was so serene, considering again how much of an inhospitable place we are standing in, but the dragonflies around us didn't seem to think so. And that is it for the trip, my friend. I hope you enjoyed this little desert journey. If you like any of these landscapes shown for design purposes, I have made a reference pack for them for just $1 on my Gumroad, which is linked in my description. Do give this video a thumbs up, and why not go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already for more vlogging content featuring a mix of art, history, and the outdoors, because yes, I do venture off of my desk once in a while and absorb what nature and history have to offer. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!